standard number 2, the art of making inferences. Say it with me now, inferences, which comes from the root word infer, which basically means an idea or assumption suggested by PK and facts, details, and arguments in a sentence, a passage, a paragraph, or a text. So let's talk about that PK. What is PK? PK stands for prior knowledge, which is our VIP number 1. Prior knowledge is what you knew before encountering the text. Now, inferences can help us do a plethora or a lot of different things. But the 2 main things they help us do is they help us, 1, fill in the blanks the author left. Because see, the author's not going to tell us every single thing they want us to know. They kind of want us to work for it a little bit. So sometimes they leave blanks, and it's our job to fill in those blanks. How do we fill in those blanks? With inferences. Ooh. All right, the next way inferences help us is they help us read between the lines. Simply because, once again, we have brains, we have knowledge, we have intelligence. Authors and writers know this, so they put clues in between the lines so that we can find them. Now, what good is inferences for? 2 reasons. Inferences first allow us to make predictions about what could happen or what may happen. Inferences also allow us to draw conclusions. Combine these predictions and conclusions together, then that helps us to make claims and develop stronger arguments. So, why are inferences so important? Well, the first thing they do, they add to our PK, our prior knowledge bank. So as we're continuing to read different texts, our prior knowledge bank is constantly filling up. And that means our inferences are going to get better and better and better. It also allows us to summarize and enhance our imagery. The third way that inferences help us out a lot is that it allows us to create new and unique understandings of the text. Imagine you're watching your favorite movie and you've watched it 100 times, but each time you may get something different that you didn't get before because your prior knowledge is growing and your understanding of the text is growing because your inferences are greater and better. And the last way inferences are important for us is they enhance our understanding. Inferences allow us to understand a vast amount of information that we would not be able to understand. Now, how do we do inferences? It's a 4 easy step. We observe, we add, we consider, and then we use. So, what do we observe? The first thing we observe is all the facts and arguments and claims and information the author has given us in his or her text. We observe all that. How do we observe that? By annotating, by asking questions, by summarizing what the author is saying, by figuring out what the author is doing in the text. We observe all of that. Then we add to those observations our prior knowledge. We take everything we knew before we encountered the text and we add our new observations of the text to that so that we then can consider the facts and what may result from them. And this is where we begin to make our inferences, which leads us to number 4. We then use an if-then type statement. For example, Brad is sweating indoors. So that's the information the author gave me. I'm going to add my PK. So if Brad is sweating indoors, that means he may have came from outside. Maybe it was cold outside, so he came inside. He has on a lot of winter layers. The heat is on inside, therefore he's sweating. Another reason why, so I could say if Brad is sweating indoors, then maybe he's hot. Or I could even go further with my inferences depending on how much observation I've done and how much prior knowledge I have. Alright, so let's watch me try one. So let's look right here. It says read the following conversation and answer the question. Conversation, person A. Hey, look at the long line. Do you think we'll get in, Mom? B. I think so. Some of these people already have tickets. A. How much are the tickets, y'all? B. Only $9 for the first show. I'll pay. A. Thanks. I'll buy the popcorn. Now, as you can see, I've already annotated my text. I've made my observations. My two people are in long lines. Some people have tickets. They're worried about getting in. How much are the tickets? Not that pricey. One person will pay, the other person will buy popcorn. So I can make a lot of prior knowledge. I'm gonna probably say they're at the movies because it's a long line. They already got tickets. The tickets are about $9. Normally sporting events, concerts, and things like that cost more than $9. And wherever they're at, they're gonna be selling popcorn. So I can infer that they're probably at the movies. But I asked some questions as I was making my observations. Where are these people? What are they talking about? And who are these people to each other? I can infer they're probably a couple because they're together and one is willing to pay for the tickets while the other one is willing to pay for the popcorn for the duo. They're talking about a movie and looks like they're excited about the movie because it's a long line and they hope they'll get in. Then we have one about, let's read this one. This sentence says, blood cholesterol used to be thought of as a problem only for adults. So so now I gotta choose the logical inference. So, blood cholesterol used to be thought of as something that only adults had. So clearly, people that used to think that don't think that anymore. So if it's not just for adults, it has to be for children. And that leads me to the logical C. Now, this brings me to VIP number 3, which is not listed, so pay attention. When you are taking a multiple choice assessment like the ELC or end of course test, and you come across an inference style question, what you want to then do is test each answer choice against the observations and facts you found in the test. The correct logical inference will line up with the facts from the test. Because as you can see, A says blood cholesterol is no longer a problem for adults. That doesn't line up with the sentence. It just says it used to be thought of as a problem only for adults. So clearly it's still a problem, it's just not a problem only for adults. So let's look at this one. We've already done it. When apple growers talk about new varieties of apples, they don't mean something developed last month, last year, even the last decade. Which sentence has the logical one? We've chosen A. Why do you think we've chosen A? Pause the video, read it, and think about it. So, did you figure out why A was a good answer? A is the best answer because apple growers talk about varieties, but they don't think of something that was developed last month, last year, the decade. So that leads us to believe there's been no new varieties of apples in decades, which prior knowledge says there hasn't been. You have your basic apples, Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, those types. All right, so this one I want you to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video. Well, wait, I'll read it first, then pause the video, and then try to figure out on your own. Turner almost wished that he hadn't listened to the radio. He went to the closet and grabbed his umbrella. He would feel silly carrying it to the bus stop on such a sunny morning, which probably happened. D, Turner planned to trade his umbrella for a bus ride. C, Turner had heard a weather forecast that predicted rain. B, Turner had promised himself to do something silly that morning. Or A, Turner realized that he had an unnatural fear of fallen radio parts, which probably happened. Go ahead, pause the video, do your 4 steps, observe, add your PK, consider, and then do your if-then analysis. So, What'd you come up with? Well, let's break it down. Let's do those 4 steps together. So, we're doing observations. He wished he hadn't listened to the radio. So whatever he heard on the radio, he's going to follow the instructions or whatever he heard on the radio. He went to the closet and grabbed his umbrella. So clearly, whatever he heard on the radio was related to weather, because you grab an umbrella when it's raining. Then it says he would feel silly carrying to the bus stop on such a sunny morning. So then I can think, okay, clearly the meteorologist or the weatherman said it was going to rain, but currently it was a beautiful sunny morning, which is why he'd feel silly carrying an umbrella in sunny weather. So, which probably happened? It's probably not going to be A. I'm thinking he's not going to trade his umbrella for a bus ride, because what bus driver is going to take an umbrella is money. So we're left with B and C. He would feel silly, but the text doesn't tell us where he promised himself to do something silly. So we're left with C. And if you said C, you're well on your way to doing great inferences. Ooh.